Welcome to the City of Miami Beach Commission Chambers. We're glad to have you with us today. If you require ADA assistance or accommodations, please notify the city clerk or any staff member, and we will be happy to assist you. As a courtesy to everyone present, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices at this time. Lobbyist disclosure reminder. If you are a lobbyist appearing before the City Commission or any city board, you must have registered with the city clerk prior to participating. If you have not yet registered, please do so immediately. Presentation reminder. If you submitted a presentation within the 24 hours prior to the start of today's meeting, please check the computer located at the podium to ensure your file is properly loaded. When the floor opens for public comment, please step up to the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, and begin by stating your name and address for the record. How to participate in public meetings via Zoom. Once you have joined the Zoom meeting, go to the bottom panel and click on the raise hand icon to notify the meeting host that you would like to speak. As soon as the host grants you permission to speak, a dialog box will pop up on your screen with two options. Select the unmute button to begin speaking. After you finish speaking, mute your microphone and click on the lower hand icon. If you are joining Zoom via phone, tap the keypad icon and press star 9 to notify the meeting host that you have raised your hand to speak. A voice operator will prompt you to unmute your microphone by pressing star 6. Once unmuted, you may begin speaking. After you finish sharing your comments, be sure to press star 9 to lower your hand and star 6 to mute yourself. We kindly ask everyone to conduct themselves in a respectful and professional manner throughout today's meeting. Thank you for your cooperation, and thank you for participating in your local government here in the City of Miami Beach.
Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this month's planning board meeting, which is on a Thursday for a change. First, I want to welcome our new liaison, Deborah Tackett and Jake Support. Happy to have them. Very exciting. We're going to start. Nick, I'll get to you in 1 second. If I could just get a motion to approve the minutes from the September meeting.
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second? Scott, second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Mr. Kalergis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members of the board. Today's meeting of the Planning Board will be conducted in a hybrid format, with the board physically present in the commission chambers at Miami Beach City Hall, and applicants, staff, and members of the public appearing either in person or virtually via Zoom. To participate via Zoom, the public may dial 1-877-853-5257 and enter the webinar ID, which is 861-4342-6327#, or log into the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which again is 861-4342-6327. Anyone wishing to speak on an item must click the raise hand icon in the Zoom app or dial *9 if you're participating by phone. If you're appearing on behalf of a business, a corporation, or another person, you need to register as a lobbyist with the city clerk's office. If you haven't registered yet, you should register before you speak to the board. You don't have to register as a lobbyist if you're speaking only on behalf of yourself and not any other party, or if you're testifying as an expert witness, providing only scientific, technical, or other specialized information or testimony in this public meeting, or if you're appearing as a representative of a neighborhood association without any compensation or reimbursement for your appearance, to express support of or opposition to any item. Expert witnesses and representatives of neighborhood associations shall, prior to appearing, disclose in writing to the city clerk their name, address, and the principal on whose behalf they are communicating. If you're an architect, attorney, or employee representing an applicant or an objector, you must register as a lobbyist. These rules apply whether you're appearing in favor of or against an item, or encouraging or arguing against its passage, defeat, modification, or continuance. And lastly, I'd like to swear in any members of the public or staff who will be testifying today. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And as far as attendance, it's probably obvious, but Elizabeth Latona is not present. Everyone else is. All right, the first is a progress report planning by Planning Board filed PB 21-0441-2038 Collins Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a progress report for a change of owner-operator as required by the conditional use permit for a neighborhood impact establishment with entertainment and an occupant content in excess of 200 persons. This particular property has a long history. Initially, it goes back to a conditional use permit for the entire building, which is a parking garage with retail on the ground floor. That was approved in 2001. This particular space, as there are multiple tenants within the ground floor of the building, is located at 2038 Collins Avenue. The initial CUP was approved by the board in December of 2015. That was for Bagatelle Restaurant. And then subsequent, a change in operator to Rasputin was approved in June of 2021. The current operator, CAD Hospitality LLC, has submitted the required affidavit, which was approved by the planning department, and they are currently requesting this progress report in order to change the operator and to acknowledge all of the conditions that are existing in the CUP. There are no other changes to the CUP other than the operator at this time. I would like to point out that at the time we drafted this report, no complaints have been received and no violations have been issued for this particular space. Therefore, we are recommending the planning board conclude the progress report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, sir.
Good morning, members of the board. Samuel Rubert, Samuel A. Rubert, PA, on behalf of the applicant CAD Hospitality LLC. I can't summarize it any better than Ms. Tackett did, but I am here.
Flattery will get you
Questions
everywhere.
have. My client is also here, the principal of my client is also here in case you have any questions for the operator. Other than that, we hope you close out the progress report.
Okay, anyone in chambers speak on this? Anyone on Zoom? Nobody on Zoom? We'll close the public hearing. Any questions? Someone want to move it?
Motion to conclude the progress report?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was easy. All right, the next
That was my one.
items are previously continued applications. The first one is Planning Board File 250773, 1784 West Avenue, which I believe is the Pasta Bar.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. This is an application that was filed requesting a conditional use approval for a restaurant with more than 100 seats and an occupancy content in excess of 125 seats pursuant to sections 2.5.2 and 7.2.23 of the Miami Beach Resiliency Code. And I'm going to turn it over to Jake for our recommendation.
Thank you, Debbie. This is the former Sushi Garage location at West Avenue and 18th Street. As Debbie said, in the Sunset Harbor neighborhood, a restaurant that serves alcohol with more than 100 seats or an occupancy in excess of 125 persons requires a conditional use permit. The proposed restaurant includes a total of 122 seats indoors and a patron occupant content of 195 persons. The applicant is proposing indoor ambient background music played at a level that does not interfere with normal conversation, as entertainment is not permitted in this area of the city. The applicant initially proposed hours of operation from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday and noon to midnight Friday through Sunday. However, the applicant has notified staff that they will be presenting modified hours of operation, closing at midnight Monday through Thursday and 2 a.m. Friday through Sunday and on state and federal holidays. A valet service will be provided by the applicant, and the city's Transportation and Mobility Department has reviewed the valet plan and is recommending several conditions that have been included in the draft CUP. In summary, the request is for a CUP for a 122-seat restaurant with no entertainment, and staff is recommending approval of the application.
Thank you, Jake. If I could just, the applicant has also contacted staff and discussed with the Transportation Department a proposed modification of the 9 valet requirement that is part of the draft order. They are now proposing not to keep the 9, but to reevaluate with transportation within 6 months to provide an updated valet analysis to determine if 9 is the appropriate number, or if it needs to be more or less. Transportation has notified us just on yesterday that they don't have any objection with that modification, and staff does not either.
Okay, and when you present, to me, I live in Sunset Harbor, and my issue is always traffic. And can you just be very specific about the valet operation, where it's located, and, focus
Sure,
on that?
I've got some
Appreciate
slides
it.
on that, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So, good morning, Nicholas Rodriguez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, from the law firm Burke, Calredale, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tapanez. I'm joined by Andrea Pedrozzoli, the principal of a pasta bar, and Fulvio Rodini, our architect. If we could call up the presentation. So this application is for a restaurant called A Pasta Bar in Sunset Harbor. A Pasta Bar is an existing restaurant in New York. They have one location. It's been very successful in Soho. And their concept is really more casual, but still a sit-down Italian restaurant. And it's centered around a central kitchen where they make fresh pasta and handmade pasta kind of in front of you in an interactive setting. And just a note on outreach, we did meet with Sarah and Marilyn from the Sunset Harbor Neighborhood Association, and they were comfortable with the application and our requested hours. And they're actually very excited about the concept coming to Sunset Harbor. So as to the location, this is 1784 West Avenue. It's the former Sushi Garage location, as Jake had mentioned. And this spot has been vacant for the last 2 years, and it's in need of a refresh and an update from a pasta bar who's coming in with a full interior remodel. We're right across the street from Fresh Market and Office Depot. Our floor plan is 122 indoor seats We would like to request a sidewalk cafe permit in the future for up to 28 seats on that depressed sidewalk beneath the street that's in front of the restaurant, but that is outside of the scope of the CUP, but we just want to be abundantly clear that we do intend to request some outdoor seating in the future. No music outside as prohibited in Sunset Harbor. So 122 indoor seats, and the occupancy, as Jake mentioned, is 195. It's a different number there that is just a typo. So this is an interior rendering of kind of what the restaurant would look like. That's the central pasta bar where they would make the pasta, the fresh pasta, and serve it at the bar seats. And then you have the seats flanking the sides, for the more formal dining setting. And these are the proposed modifications before. We adjusted them, so the handout is the correct proposed modifications. And just to get to the valet questions, sorry, I have a couple more slides in backup since Mr. Chair Brian Elias would like us to cover this. So the two valet spaces are located on the east side of the property between Office Depot. And the reason we chose that area is because there's only one parking space that's actually on 18th Street, and we need two for a proper valet loading ramp. So we worked with the parking department and the transportation department to use the one space that's in front of the loading dock. And there's kind of a striped out area between our property and the extra space storage next door that would serve as our second space so that we have enough space to not block traffic. And we thought it would be less disruptive on West Avenue, which is a little bit wider than 18th Street, which is affected by the road raising, which made the sidewalk wider. And it's a little bit of a pinch point that you see in the aerial. Our valet storage location is at the Chase Bank next to Walgreens. And here's the route that they would take. They would take Dade Boulevard to drop off the car, and then Alton Road, and come back and loop around to bring the car back to the valet stand.
Repeat where is the parking?
So the valet parking location is at the Chase Bank. It's the building that's right next to Walgreens and Publix, and it has like a very large surface parking lot that's underutilized. So it's been recently approved to be an underutilized valet storage lot. And I think we're one of the first that's actually patronizing with the valet company to use that lot. It's the closest lot that we could identify for a valet storage in the neighborhood that's actually available. And so we're working with Elite Parking.
Do you know where the Uchiko Valet parks?
I'm not sure where Uchiko Valet parks. I'm sorry, I don't know. I believe it's the same, I'm not sure. I believe it's the same valet operator, but I didn't ask him. They may end up actually parking in the same location because I think
But it's the same operator?
it's
But you're gonna have a stand set up in a separate place,
Yes, because we're in a completely different location than Uchiko.
right around the corner, yeah.
Yeah. So our stand would be on West Ave.
I'm just trying to visualize, that's the same street that Tremont and Beach are on and the,
Right, Tremont and Beach are a little bit down the ways, but yeah, we're on, actually, is this? No, it's
not
one
the same
street,
street.
it's one street to the east of that. This is where, right,
okay.
this is where Office Depot is, where there's a light. and you
Yeah,
can
there's a
make
light
left.
at that
Okay.
intersection. Before you get to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is better than having it on 18th Street, because that's where most of the traffic is.
Right, that's what I was concerned with.
Yeah, there used to be parking spaces all here, which we would have served as a good valet ramp, but when they did the road raising in Sunset Harbor, they widened the sidewalk and took away some of the parallel parking spaces, so it just wouldn't work well right in front of the restaurant. The main entrance will actually be here, so it actually works out to have the valet here.
But right now, what is in those spaces? Because it doesn't lead, it looks like, if there's cars coming the other way, there's parking spaces on the other side. I guess, how much space is there for
So-
cars to pass by when valet has 2 or 3 cars parked there?
So that it's sufficiently wide, there's actually, if you see here, this is our loading dock, so there's enough space for a car. You can see actually in this very small image, there are cars in the travel lane here, and there's plenty of space here between the curb where cars can pull in, and then.
And
we
so
have
that
enough-
ramp there, that's kind of, are they gonna be able to pull into there?
We don't want them to pull into the ramp because then they would have to back out and that takes longer and that would cause traffic backup. So we just want them to parallel next to that ramp, and that's our loading dock. So we have a condition that prohibits us from operating the valet at the same time that we would be loading. So there's no conflicts there, but we're only open in the evenings for dinner, 5 p.m. to 11 or 2 a.m. on weekends. So loading would happen during the day anyways.
And then are you planning on having like a golf cart or something to take the valet back?
Right now, I think there would just be walking, running across the street.
Alton?
Across the Alton and Dade Boulevard signal, the crosswalk there. But it's not a very far distance. And in the valet analysis, what they do is they calculate, how long it would take for that person to walk there. And that's why we have 9 valet attendants required. What ends up happening is, in practice, there's much less people driving and valeting than what's predicted in the analysis. So that's why we'd like to come back and see how many people are actually driving to this restaurant and potentially revise up or revise down based on 6 months of operations.
My gut is you'll revise down. I'm just saying
Almost
there's
always.
garages in the area. There's the whole garage where all the other restaurants are.
People self-park, and a lot of people Uber and walk anyway.
Just one thing for me. So what was the reason that you didn't want to stage the valet cars on 18th?
So we can't because there's only one.
Because you have that cutout there.
Yeah, we have a cutout here. This is one parking space, and then these are motorcycle parking spaces. We can't commandeer those spaces because they're too close to this stop sign.
Got it.
And there's a Florida statute that prohibits us from putting a parking space there. So we tried that at first, but it just couldn't work. And we came to this compromise with the parking department and the transportation department all working together. It took a little bit of coordination, but we made it happen.
Well, it's a public hearing. I know there's someone here from the Chambers. Miss Sunset Harbor.
No, I'm going to be as an individual, since we,
Oh.
we have this issue with the neighborhood ordinance. But anyway, as an individual, Sarah de los Reyes, 1800 Sunset Harbor Drive. We did speak to the vendor, and we support them, and they support every single of our ordinance that we have out there. So we're very happy. I can't wait until they open. We need another Italian restaurant, since we lost Sardinia. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in Chambers? Anyone on Zoom? All right, we'll close public hearing. Any other questions or someone want to move it?
Well, can I ask about the hours?
Of course.
Just so I understand, well, because in your proposed modifications or conditions, Monday through Thursday, 5 to 11, indoor, and Friday to Sunday, 5 to 2, but then you say outdoor, 12 a.m. nightly. I assume you're talking about only on the weekend, on Friday to Sunday, because you have indoor to 11.
Right, yeah, we could close the outdoor at 11. So the ordinance allows us to open till midnight, but we can do outdoor, mirror what we're doing with the indoor
Okay.
weekdays.
How many outdoor seats are there compared to, I guess, what Sushi Garage had?
So Sushi Garage actually didn't have any approval for outdoor seats. I have no idea how many outdoor seats they had. Whatever they had was just, they kind of just put them there.
Got it. And there's, I know there's no entertainment, but is there gonna be ambient music outside or no?
No music allowed outside in Sunset Harbor.
In terms of the valet, so when is this planning on opening?
May, June, we're working through permitting right now. This actually came up while they were already substantially through their permitting, but since Sunset Harbor has a lower threshold, they didn't realize they needed the CUP, and so they kind of had to deviate from permitting, come here, but they're already kind of 90% through the permitting process.
So I guess from past experience of doing these, like 6 months from issuance, if it's issued in May, it's the dead of summer, and the valet is gonna obviously be much lighter during that period. And so I think we need to come up with, I think I'm totally fine. I don't want to make you guys spend extra money that you don't need to, like to hire lawyers and come back and everything like that. But I want to make sure that the valet analysis is, accurate. I mean, you've seen Sunset Harbor and that, Dade Boulevard, in December and January. I mean, it's insane. I mean, we have to have police on every intersection, and it's backed up, and, with the construction on Purdy and the Uchiko Valet, I mean, it's just.
You want to analyze during the peak season.
Yeah, I mean,
Like a minimum of 6 months, but it has to include a period of what?
Well, I would say
December, February?
maybe
November.
9 months, Because if you do open up, well, I guess you could do 6 months to include December through February, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. It's reasonable. Very fair. We understand summer it's dead, and winter it's not.
Yeah.
As we're finding out, as the last couple of weeks, the traffic has just increased suddenly.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else? Scott?
Yeah, just one quick question, mainly for staff. When Sushi Garage was there, are you aware of any issues they had that maybe we need to look at for this application?
Sushi
Or
Garage.
any kind of issues?
Sushi Garage didn't actually have to get a CUP, so they were just operating
Any
as
code violation, anything that?
Not that I'm
nothing
aware of.
Okay.
All right, someone move it.
I'll move it.
Okay, second?
Second,
It's with the,
Correct, with your
With the
suggestion.
outdoor suggestion, yeah.
and minimum of 6 months, but has to include a period of December to February.
Right.
Got that, guys?
Just to clarify, that is a 11 PM closing outdoors.
Outdoors, yeah.
Okay.
On
Monday through Thursday.
Monday to Thursday, right?
Right, and we just want their valley analysis to include months of November and December. Okay? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Congratulations, good
Thank
luck.
you very much.
Good luck.
Luck.
Look forward to it.
see you there.
Wish it was kosher.
All right, the next one is Planning Board File 250775-801 South Point Drive, and I think there was a flurry of activity this morning with an agreement with a neighbor, and I think Nick has a new condition that, I don't know if the rest of us have, is,
I think we should let the applicant present their
Yeah.
proposed condition, and
okay.
And-
Debbie, do you need to do an intro?
ultimately it's up to the board whether to accept that.
Sure, let me just read the application into the record. An application has been filed requesting modifications to a previously approved conditional use permit for a neighborhood impact establishment. Specifically, the applicant is requesting to modify conditions of approval related to the required sound mitigation measures. This application was heard by the planning board at the September meeting. Since that time, staff has been advised that the applicant continues to work with the Maria Condominium Association to come to an agreement. And I'm going to turn it over to the applicant to go through that in more detail. But staff's recommendation remains consistent with what was presented at September.
Right, subject to this new, okay.
Proposal. Hi again, Nicholas Rodriguez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, Burkow, Riedel, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tapanez. If we could call up the slides. So I just passed out a set of conditions. You guys may remember we were here last month. We were proposing a modification to our proposed sound insulation in the restaurant. We got some pushback from the condominium. I think we were there was some misunderstanding between what we were proposing and what was actually being done. So we clarified with them what we were doing, and we made some compromises and some concessions. In general, what we're doing is that the main dining room hours of operation are being reduced from 2 a.m. to midnight, and then the alternative sound insulation process will be used in the main dining room, the larger space. The VIP dining room, which is 42 seats at the east side of the property, that will follow the originally agreed upon sound insulation, which is 2 layers of sound insulation.
So which area has the?
The VIP dining area, and I'll pull up the floor plan here so you guys can see it. So the VIP dining area on the right side of the screen, that will be insulated because it's staying open till 2 a.m. But the main dining, it's going to close at 12 a.m. And we've been able to work with the association sound consultant and our sound consultant to show them that the sound from the restaurant won't be audible. But to give them extra assurance, we've proposed a condition. We've worked with them. That's kind of the what-if scenario. What if residents hear it? Then we'll follow a process in order to make sure that we address it. And of course, the answer has always been, whether there's a condition or not, Gaia is going to work with the residents in Maria to make sure that any noise that they're hearing is going to be addressed. This just kind of puts it in writing and gives us an ironclad agreement that if they do hear noise, we're going to address it right away. If noise becomes a chronic problem, then we're going to hire an independent sound consultant, and they're going to come identify the source, we're going to pay for it, and we're going to implement the recommendations in order to eliminate any impacts. What this boils down to this board is that the noise can't be plainly audible in any residential unit within the building, and that's completely enforceable. So if there's any noise complaints coming from residents of the building, we'll be back before you to modify the CUP for progress reports, and then eventually potentially modifications if we can't resolve these noise concerns. But based on the studies and the extensive investigation, studying, and investment that's being put into insulating the sound in the restaurant, we're really confident that they're not going to hear anything from this restaurant. There's soundproofing going in on every ceiling to some extent. It's just the VIP dining is getting a little bit more insulation because they're opening till 2 a.m. The main dining room's getting a little bit less, but with some other techniques that also help to mitigate any sound impacts from the restaurant. And if they do hear something, we're going to address it. I do believe that the association's council will be on Zoom to corroborate the agreement that we've reached just last night and this
So I
morning.
understand, so all these proposed conditions were the result of this negotiation and agreement with Maria?
Yes.
Okay.
Mostly this one on the first page. These conditions with the construction specifics are really just, one of them is what was already in the original CUP. It's just clarifying it's only in the VIP dining room. And the other one was our proposed modification to that sound insulation condition.
It's a shame their consultant isn't here. It would have been enjoyable.
You guys were looking forward to fireworks today?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished.
All right, so anybody in chambers on this? Okay, so I'm assuming there's someone on Zoom, the counsel for the association?
And before we hear from the public, I would ask the board if you have any disclosures to make, any new information since the last hearing.
Yes, I had ex parte email, just to make sure, because we were pushing for them to get along, that it was proceeding, and if they needed any help from mediators. And it seems they did wonderful on their own. I want to clarify that my mind was not determinative either before or now till I come into this place, but blessed be the peacemakers. And, you know, the neighborhood association had nothing to do with it. Nobody on that board was involved or talked to. And the determination lies solely with the planning board.
And when you say ex parte, you mean you were sending emails back and
One.
forth to the app? Okay, got it. Okay, Scott, anybody else have a disclosure, anybody? Melissa? Okay. Ready for public hearing.
If you're wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand if you're on Zoom. Okay, yes, Justin Smith. Good morning, Justin.
Justin,
good
maybe
morning.
you're on mute. You there?
My name is Justin Smith. I'm counsel for Maria Condominium Association. So it's just joined to corroborate the fact that the parties did discuss the conditions here and came to an agreement.
So you're in agreement with all these proposed conditions?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to
Well, I just want to say this is a perfect example of why it was delayed, and I want to commend both you and the board for working together in a situation that was not viable on the first pass. And that's the determination. I mean, it's not up to sound engineers ultimately to just come in and say staff approves. We have to have buy-in, particularly when there's multiple residents living above. So fantastic job, and that was the appropriate outcome. Thank you.
And Nick, do you have any, staff have comments on the proposed condition?
So I think the proposed condition is okay. At the end of the day, this is a voluntary proffer by the applicant as to reflect a private agreement that the applicant reached with the association for the building. I would just want to make clear which parts of this paragraph the city can enforce and which parts are really a a private dispute resolution process that they've come up with to govern their own relationship. I think
Right.
the first part, that noise from the restaurant, including but not limited to music, kitchen operations, and equipment, and patrons shall not be plainly audible from the residential units within the Maria condominium. That is something that the city's code compliance department could enforce.
Correct.
Then there's a detailed dispute resolution process where complaints can be made directly to restaurant management staff, and the applicant is required to designate a contact person. The last part of the very last sentence, I think, is the second part of this that the city can directly enforce, which is that the operator shall be required to implement the commercially reasonable recommendations of the sound consultant, or if the independent sound consultant deems a remedial measure is necessary, the operator shall be required to undertake such remedial actions. So I think, it's okay to include this in the board's order if the board
Right,
agrees
but
to
you're
accept
saying
the
it's
proffer.
between the two parties to,
We're saying there's the middle part, there's no way the city can enforce that.
Correct. The everything but the first and the last sentence is really a dispute resolution process that the applicant
right,
has.
but if it's a condition of the CUP and they violate it, then the Maria would come to us and tell us they violated this provision, correct?
Exactly. Right.
That's correct. Yeah, I just
Okay.
want to point out for the board. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
whether
But we would have jurisdiction because it's still a condition.
it's a conditional use permit issued by this board, so you would have jurisdiction. Yes.
Okay.
And even, to me, the most important part of it is the first sentence, which is, so nothing in here precludes a normal, like them also calling code enforcement or code compliance.
Correct.
And if they come and visit this, that apartment or condo and they can hear the music, that's a violation in and of itself, even though they didn't, there's nothing requiring them to first go to management and all that.
Correct.
But I do think, I applaud both sides for being creative. This is probably the most creative condition that I've seen in my years on the planning board, so, kudos. One of the things I was actually thinking is for future projects like this, where there might be a building or residences nearby, can we always include it as a standard condition for the operator to designate a contact person so that neighbors, have that, they will.
A registered agent.
A registered agent, so to speak, so that like during operating hours, there's a phone number, not like the reservations phone number, but that there's an actual phone number for a manager, for residents to call, because, so that, it's just another way of encouraging working relationships with the neighbors and also, not forcing residents to have to call code compliance. So I'm just thinking, I think it's a good idea to have that for when we're talking about entertainment and loud music in residential areas, so. Cool.
All right, any other questions? Somebody want to move it?
I'll move it.
Favorably, I assume?
Yes, very
Okay.
favorable.
Wait,
Thrilled.
let me just ask, so you're also proposing the VIP dining room to 2 AM, and are the neighbors okay with that, the building?
Yeah, we've talked about all these conditions.
Okay,
so.
how many seats are there?
42 in the plan.
In each one or in both, like 22 in one, because there's
It's-
two?
So there's just one VIP dining room. If we pull up the floor plan,
Yeah.
we can.
Big is the main.
So there's a VIP dining area here. There's 42 seats. It's not necessarily just one or two rooms. There is a chef's table up here, but that's not really. Yeah, that's just a chef's table for like tastings and that sort of thing.
Cool. I love a chef's table.
I'd love to go be
I've
invited.
never been invited to one, but.
I've never been a
I'd love to
VIP.
go.
And there's no entertainment in the VIP area?
No, there's no entertainment allowed.
Okay.
Well, it's just.
And then-
South of Fifth, you can't have.
And then the conditions, the modified conditions in terms of the actual, like, construction of the ceiling, those are the same that were recommended? Are those the same that were recommended?
Yeah, so
Or
the
are they different?
VIP dining room are the same as what's in the current CUP. So it's really not changing, it's just changing its location in the CUP. like the way it's organized. And then the main dining is what we had proposed at the last meeting. We have a little bit more details in there to just clarify exactly what's going to happen. And that's what ultimately we were able to satisfy the association and their sound consultant that, you know, the modeling and the studies that we had done were based on real data and would prevent sound impacts, just like the city's peer reviewer had reviewed and agreed as well.
Okay. All right, great, thanks.
All right, so we had a first and.
I'll move it.
I move.
Okay.
Second.
Second?
Jonathan, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thanks and good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a
All
good
right,
day.
next one, previously continued application, planning board file 25076 1600 Washington. And so before we start, any disclosures on this one? No?
No.
Nothing. Okay.
Nonsense allowed.
Debbie?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ambassador, how are you? Distinguished guest, go, how are you? Go ahead, Deb.
Good morning. Okay, this is an application that has been filed requesting a conditional use approval for a neighborhood impact structure for the construction of a new 15-story mixed-use building exceeding 50,000 square feet pursuant to sections 2.5.2 and 7.2.12 of the Miami Beach Resiliency Code. This particular application has been filed in accordance with the pending legislation for the Washington Avenue Residential Incentives Plan. This particular text amendment and comprehensive plan amendment was transmitted by the planning board in November of 2024. The amendment specifically does contemplate an increase in FAR from 3.2 to 3.25 and a maximum height of 150 feet. This particular ordinance is pending first reading at City Commission at their December meeting. But the applicant was eligible to submit this application and a companion application to the Historic Preservation Board pursuant to a hold harmless agreement. If for certain reason the ordinance is not adopted, this project would not be able to move forward because it does exceed the currently allowed FAR and height. Also, we noted in the background section, the applicant submitted a private application for essentially the same development regulations that are contained within the Washington Avenue Incentives Ordinance. However, their particular private application, which I believe was reviewed by the board last month, is a much more limited area. And they did so to avoid any potential delays with the larger area. So we will be holding a public workshop for that particular ordinance. Again, it's a similar ordinance, but just a much reduced boundary area.
Right, I'm just confused, but the ordinance that's currently before commission, if that doesn't pass, this all becomes moot?
If that doesn't pass and the current private ordinance doesn't move through.
Okay, so that can go through even if the other doesn't, that's all?
Correct.
Okay, that's all.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that that private ordinance application will be coming back to the planning board in December as well. So I know it's
Got it.
confusing.
No, I get it, I follow you.
The applicant is proposing, let me see. The existing site contains 3 buildings. There's a one-story commercial building located at 1600 Washington Avenue, a vacant 2-story multifamily building located at 423 16th Street, and an existing 6-level parking garage with ground-level restaurant located at 1601 Drexel. The applicant is proposing the demolition of the buildings, 2 of the buildings located at 1600 Washington and 423 16th Street, to be replaced with a 15-story, 210-unit multifamily residential building with ground floor retail. The existing parking garage is proposed to be retained and incorporated into this new mixed-use development. The access to residential units will be provided via a ground-level lobby. A pedestrian bridge has been provided connecting the parking garage to the new residential building. And while parking is not required as part of the pending LDR amendments, the applicant has outlined that they will be providing parking within the existing garage for the residential units. They have also proposed loading spaces within the existing garage, as well as additional loading spaces for a total of 7. So 5 are proposed to be located within the service alley between the garage and the new building, and 2 within the existing garage. The applicant is proposing to limit residential move-in and move-outs to weekdays between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Residential and commercial deliveries should be able to be easily accommodated within the proposed loading spaces. Trash collection will be accessed directly from the on-site service alley. This is not a public alley, but a private alley, and that will occur between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Staff has included some recommended conditions to minimize any adverse impacts on nearby properties. But generally speaking, we are very supportive of the proposed project, which will substantially increase reasonable housing units within this particular neighborhood. This is one of the highest zone neighborhoods currently within the city. It's part of that city center area. And we do believe that a high-density multifamily residential building is appropriate for this location. There's access to public transit. And again, the scale of the construction in the immediate area is much larger than most areas of the city. The city's transportation department has also reviewed this project and has recommended a couple conditions that have been incorporated in the draft order. Additionally, the applicant has agreed to provide a micromobility station. This is like the city bike or the Deco bike with 20 spaces. They have also agreed to provide city bike passes to retail employees and to provide bike share information into communication materials for retail patrons. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I see Matthew smiling. Anyway. Mayor?
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, Neeson Kasdan and Cecilia Torres Toledo of Ackerman, representing the applicant. My pleasure as well to be here today with Ambassador Seijas, who is the owner of the property, the 400 block, as well as Enrique Norton, the lead architect, who is from Mexico City, who is here and has done some spectacular work here and around the world, of course, and Jose Gomez as well, who is the architect of record. You have already, of course, at a prior presentation, seen the minor modifications to the zoning to enable this project. This, of course, is just the conditional use which would be required merely based on the size of the project being over 50,000 square feet in the CD2 district. I want to briefly take you through this, but also share with you, although this is not a forum in which you will pass on the architecture and design, I think it's important for you to see the work and understand it as well. We can tee up this presentation. There we go. I think everybody is familiar with the site. I don't want to spend too much time on that. To repeat a theme which we mentioned before, which was this is Miami Beach's historic urban core. When I was a child, this was called Miami Beach's downtown. It was where there was the greatest concentration of offices, retail, and activity centers, as well as even the hotels were located. And so being the urban core, it can fulfill and needs the housing to support all the workers and activities within that center. These are some more historic pictures. I would also point out that Ambassador Seijas has owned this property, I think, for at least 30 years or so. And he bought it at a time when this was not such a good neighborhood, when people weren't investing in South Beach. And he has tended this property with loving care, put lots of money in to renovate it, to attract new tenants, including the soon-to-be expanded the Zara flagship store. And so Ambassador Seijas has really been a true anchor of this part of the neighborhood. Back to the theme of the urban core, as you see, in addition to historically what this has served as, the most important activities and largest facilities are located within blocks of where we are. Across the street, of course, from where we are, is the new Convention Center Hotel that is coming in. The Lowe's Hotel sits on 16th Street on Collins Avenue. This gives you a perspective of the neighborhood in which this property lies. You see the 407 building on the right, the 1601 Washington Avenue building on the left. This is another perspective looking from the south. You see the 1601 Washington Avenue building, 407, looking out towards the convention center. You see the corner piece there, which is where the apartments will be going, is right now sandwiched in between the historic 407 building and the garage, which Ambassador Cejas built and was designed by Enrique Norton. This gives you a little bit further perspective on the site and the buildings in the immediate area. And this is what's coming, of course. You have the Convention Center Hotel. So this fits in very well contextually with the neighborhood. But as Debbie also pointed out, and the most important thing about this project is the city's comprehensive plan, as well as the initiative for Washington Avenue, specifically call for increasing residential in this corridor to service the people who work on Miami Beach so they don't have to commute, and to provide life and 24-hour vitality for the neighborhoods. This project is fulfilling that goal of the city's comprehensive plan. What I'd like to now do is turn this over to Enrique Norton to take you through the design. We agree with, I would like to say in advance, the conditions and the order. There's one I'd like to tweak, which I'll mention at the end. Enrique?
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's
Just introduce yourself and your affiliation. And
oh, yes,
sorry.
sure. I am Enrique Norton. I'm an architect based in Mexico City, New York, and Miami. And I've been working within this community also for over 25 years. So I'm sure you're aware of some of the buildings we have the huge privilege to do here. And therefore, I'm very excited to be back in these chambers. I haven't been here for a while, so it's great to be here. And I'm very honored to present to you this project for several reasons. First and foremost, the huge honor to work with Ambassador Cejas, who's not only a friend, but he's one of the pillars of this community. And as already Nissen said, he's been committed and supportive of Miami Beach for many, many, many years. The second is because I do know very well this area. I happen to spend also time here. I own an apartment nearby, and I'm very lucky to be able to be part of this community when I'm not working that much. So it's also great to be here. And I've seen the transformation of this area for many years, and I believe it's the time to bring in new energy to this part of the city. And I think this is one of the first projects of many that will probably be coming and will bring new life to a very much needed area of Miami Beach. And the third one, it's obviously because I love the content of the project. You know, I am being asked, obviously by Mr. Cejas' commitment, and as Nissen already explained, not to design a building for the very rich and for the very wealthy, but really for the workers that this community really needs. And that obviously entitles or proceeds to a very different kind of design that I'm sure you will understand. We have studied extensively, you know, the architecture of Miami and Miami Beach, and I think this project is about celebrating the history of Miami, and very especially the modern history of this last almost 100 years or 80 years of building in Miami and Miami Beach. It's a very easy and simple project, and we've done our best to make it not only obviously a very sophisticated and elegant project, but also a very light project, a project that will enhance the community and will enhance the area. It is not all architecture is about doing big jumps or big gymnastics in architecture in the city. This is a project that is more about reinforcing the structure of the city, the public spaces of the city, of understanding what the streets are, what the scale of the neighborhood is, what the neighbors are, in having a little bit of a quieter architecture that will, and of course very elegant, that will enhance the whole environment. It's important to understand that the project, it's part of a system. You know, it's not an isolated project. It's a project that it's part of a block, as it has been said, owned by Mr. Cejas for many years, and that it needs to keep on surviving and working. Like, basically needs deliveries, needs services, needs everything. So the project needs to adapt and complement the rest of the block and the rest of the neighborhood, and should not be seen as an isolated condition. I'll go very fast about the project. The project has a full ground floor of retail spaces, and we're hoping also to bring back some of the very needed, I would say, simple services to the neighborhood. The bakery, the cafe, hopefully would be the shoe repair, which doesn't exist anymore, but bring back, you know, the life of the real city in a real neighborhood. This project is about creating back a neighborhood that maybe doesn't exist that strongly anymore in this area. It's 210 apartments of different sizes. The apartments are dedicated to, as we have said before, to workers and to young families in the city. I should say, and sorry to deviate, you know, I was very touched because a few years ago, my son got a first job after college here in Miami, and he was moving here, and it was impossible for him to find an apartment in Miami. You know, he had to find an apartment about an hour away, had to commute to Miami, and this was a financial job. It was not a waiter job. It was not a everyday store job. And so I have absolutely no doubt that the necessity is here and that we need to work towards trying to help bringing back that opportunity to the young people and the young families and the workers that support the life of this city. It's a project that it will be completely committed, as Mr. Cejas has been, and support his commitment both to social and to environmental sustainability. We are considering and taking and being very careful about all of the rules and regulations and going beyond that, because we understand how fragile the condition is against the changing environment that we're all sort of sustaining here. It's I would consider a very modern expression that really reflects to the conditions of the area. I would say, you know, this area is changing. It's been changing for 30, 40 years. It's not the Art Deco beautiful area, which I have huge respect for in Miami Beach, but it goes way beyond. And obviously, the scale of the future projects deserve a sort of different expression. I think, and last but not least, I should say that although it's a simple project reinforcing the structure of the city, and I need to quote a sentence from one of the big architects of the 20th century, Mies van der Rohe, a big master, which said, less is more. And that's what we're trying to do here. Do less in gymnastics, but more in using better materials, better detailing, better techniques, and bring this project to be a real example for the 21st century or for the beginning of this change of Miami Beach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Enrique. And just to conclude, if you would, I'd like to bring Ambassador Sejas up to say a few words. Also note, you have received support for this from both the Washington Avenue Association and the Lincoln Road Association.
Thank you, Nissan. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the staff, thank you for hearing this. And I wanted to tell you that I'm the proud owner. Before that, I tell you, I'm Paul Sejas. I live at 3315 Collins Avenue, Penthouse D. That's my home. I live on a beach most of my life. I've been here 65 years. I've owned this property close to 30 years, and I've always dreamed of it to be for my children and grandchildren. I've seen it high. I saw it in the 60s when Lincoln Road was great and vibrant, and then Bal Harbour came and Lincoln Road went down, and we went through it, and then Lincoln Road came back, and now Lincoln Road needs help. And it needs help because we need to bring people here. Lincoln Road has to be the pride of Miami Beach. And unfortunately, some things had happened that the city on the other side has provided incentives, has provided a lot of opportunities for development there that we have not been able to do. But now, looking at that situation and looking at the need, and being someone who is involved with the city, my wife is involved with the Bass Museum. We are the second largest contributor to the Bass, second to the city. And we love the city. I'm only saying these things to tell you how much we are committed to this city and how much we love Miami Beach and how much we like it to thrive. And we see a need, and that need is housing. We could have gone with the state and said, okay, the state, we are going to go and force it down the throat. And that's not my style. I live here. I love the city. I love to work with the staff. And we've been working with the staff and listening to their recommendations. And we have incorporated their recommendations into the final design so that it would be more palatable for you to make a decision. And so one thing that I got to tell you about, and that I'm very proud of, when I bought the building, we did a little research, and it was the second building in the United States built with central air conditioning. There was one in Park Avenue, and ours was the second one, central air. So that's something that we have. And it is the largest commercial, non-residential, non-hospitality commercial building in Miami Beach, and certainly Lincoln Road. So I'm proud to do it in a way that is a compromise with the city that I love, with the staff that has been great, and with a commission that hopefully will eventually approve it. We didn't want to go to the city and have 20 stories or 25 stories based on state law. We wanted to be citizens of Miami Beach, so we compromised. And I brought a great architect to do something for the people of Miami Beach. With that, I thank you for your consideration.
And the residential units are apartments or condos?
Apartments.
Rentals, okay.
Rentals.
And I'm assuming since you're trying to allow workers to, they're going to be at a decent price point.
It's a rental apartment building, and if you'd see, even the sizing of the units are such that it's geared towards working people. It's not.
No, I think that's great. That's accurate. That's great.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, I'm also a businessman, and you can do well by doing good. And
Listen, your contributions and reputation need no.
Thank you, but I have to tell you, there could be other opportunities that would be greater if I went with the state. I decided this is my city. I have to work with you to come to a compromise so that you will support what I've done. I brought a great architect that I have brought for the garage to do a great thing for the people of Miami Beach. But it is a business, and I will have market rates. Market rates is what the market will bear.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
That concludes our presentation.
Yeah, let's open to the public
At the
and
point
then-
in time you get to the vote, there is one small tweak
Right.
I'd like to be.
We'll get to that. Are anybody in chambers to speak on this item?
Mr. Chair, quick question. Did you ask for disclosures?
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Oh,
missed it.
sorry, go ahead.
They presented to the Flamingo Park Neighborhood Association last week.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. Nobody in chambers on this? Okay, anybody
Just
on
a
Zoom?
comment.
Yes, on Zoom, we have Johan Moore.
Hi, Johan, do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Johan Moore for Meridian Court Community. I have to say that the community still hears an implied threat that if this doesn't go forward, that the developer will choose to build even higher under state law. We are offended by that. I also want to push back on a couple of the assertions, namely that the neighborhood is, well, what? Not what it once was. That may or may not be true, but those of us who live in the neighborhood have some concerns about this building. And I would remind that though the Washington Avenue bid and the Lincoln Road Business Association seem supportive of this project in its current form, Flamingo Park Neighborhood Association, I believe, still has a motion pending that will be considered at the next meeting to withhold its support pending clarification of certain details. Now, I want to push back on a couple of things, but begin by saying that the obvious objection from the neighborhood is the excess height. I will also parenthetically say that as MCC has argued in the past, that such a higher building at the north end of the neighborhood is less intrusive, less disruptive in terms of the shadows it casts than one on the east, south, or west side of the neighborhood. That is about the only positive comment that I will make in acknowledgement of this project. The pushback revolves around the apparent rents for a studio apartment. $2,300 a month is the amount that has been reported in the press as a market rate for a studio, contrasted to a one-bedroom for slightly under $2,000 a month in the contributing building in which I happen to live. Working class families will not be able to either cram into a studio or pay $2,300 a month. Now, we understand that that may still be cheaper than luxury housing, but we also fear that without any kind of price controls, rental controls, which we are prohibited from doing, that those rents will in fact rise over time. Studio apartments with a view of the ocean inevitably will rise in value from the point of view of the developer. That being said, we do not want to oppose this project as a whole, but we do think that it is a bit premature, and I had in fact anticipated that this would be continued today, given that neither the commission has approved Commissioner Suarez's proposal for higher rise development on Washington Avenue, and exactly how high is precisely the point of contention. I will leave it at that. Thank you very much. I hope you continue the item and do not express support as a board for this today. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? That's it? And nobody in chambers? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Questions?
I think this is incredible. As a planning board, we've been trying to get, I'd say, more affordable housing, not within the affordable category, but I'd say attainably priced rentals that people can actually live in so that they don't have to go off the beach. I think this is an incredible first step. I wish there was more of it. And I applaud you all. Just a great team, someone spending money on top-notch design talent, programming in a prime location, let's call it the urban core. This should really be, in my opinion, the model for future development that can hopefully help us solve the issues that the city as a whole is going through. So,
And what are the proposed modifications?
Excuse me?
Didn't you say you had a proposed modification?
To the zoning? Oh, to the condition, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for bringing that to mind.
Before I speak, let's hear.
I'd say it
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah, I think you'll be okay with this. This is condition 3, G, which is the transportation and traffic condition. And we agree with the condition except with respect to, and if you, I'll direct you to the second page of that item. It says the department's director has confirmed that signalization plans must be reviewed and approved by the Transportation and Mobility Department and submitted to Miami-Dade County for review before a pass can be issued for the building permit. We're fine with that. The next sentence, though, needs to be modified some. It says, note, these signalization plans should demonstrate that the proposed optimization maintains acceptable levels of service and does not degrade corridor-wide operations. That's a bit of a black hole. We don't know what what will be deemed at that time acceptable. So what we would prefer is to take out the clause, maintains acceptable levels of service and does not degrade corridor-wide operations, remove that and put instead, mitigates impacts on service related to the project. So in other words, we're going to have to show in our traffic that anything we do will mitigate, we will do whatever signalization or changes are necessary to mitigate our impacts. But I think more broadly, we don't control Washington Avenue's levels of service and what else is going on there. And it's a standard that I think could be potentially even unattainable.
So what, you think this is too nebulous?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
And it should just say that we will mitigate the impacts on service related to our project.
Does the staff have comments on that?
I'm taking a look at that. I think the important part of the condition is really before the sentence that starts with note.
Agreed.
I think that was just transportation explaining to a certain extent, but I think the important part of the condition is prior to that, so I'm okay with a clarification on the note.
Okay, yeah, and it's interesting because when Mr. Moore spoke, he said we'd like more details. I don't know what the concern is or I wish he had articulated what details they're still missing, but I don't know if you're aware of what.
It's hard to respond, frankly, to his comments. This is, I almost have to characterize this as no good deed shall go unpunished.
Right.
Ambassador Sejas has come in with overall with the zoning change in the project. He's asking for only a 50-foot height increase. He's asking for a minimal 0.5 FAR increase in order to make a feasible project as a market rate project.
Yeah.
This is what the city's comprehensive plan wants and calls for. So I'm not quite sure how to answer the questions.
And just real quick, and Deb, so just so I understand, so one of two, either the ordinance for the commission has to pass or they're private. So this is kind of the cart before the horse.
Correct.
So if we approve it, it still has to be subject to one of those applications being, or one of those ordinances being approved.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is, Mr. Chair, so we can continue moving this process
Right,
forward.
I get it. Not to delay it. Okay, got it. All right.
So the trash collection, so I know it says that all loading activity operations shall be on site, but I want to make sure that the waste collection's included in that. I know in the plan and the drawing, there's a garbage truck on site, but I want to make sure that that space is big enough for them to do what they need to do. And I want to make sure there's not, the bins aren't rolled out to, because the trash trucks are definitely going to want to just pull up on Washington Ave. And so.
Well, but all the service is going to be from the alley. Fortunately, we have
That's
the
what
service alley.
Right, and I guess I'm just making sure, so I would just add in, waste collection shall only occur between 10 and 4 daily and shall occur on site.
Yes. Yes.
That's in the operation, okay.
It is.
So, but I just, operations change over time, so maybe let's just add that in. And then in terms of the So am I correct that the traffic from that loading area spits out onto Washington?
No,
It spits out onto the side of the
it's
street?
onto 16th Street.
Okay. So I just want to make sure there's adequate protections for
There's-
pedestrians.
Yeah, there is no vehicular movement onto Washington Avenue.
Okay. I was looking.
Just lined, there will be retail on the ground floor, and I guess a lobby for the building.
I'm curious, is there going to be security provided? I assume you're going to have a manager, but what type of process will you have in the
They will.
lobby and access to the elevators and to floors?
Absolutely, we'll have security and in the lobby full
I
time.
I saw that in the operation plan. It said like regular rounds and stuff. I get, one of the concerns obviously is the steps outside are going to be great to sit on and hang out at. And I would just stress the importance of security out there doing rounds at night,
Yeah.
you know.
You know, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. This is actually another one of the great reasons for doing this project. Right now at night, it's a closed corner, a dark corner.
Sketching, yeah.
So now you will have eyes on the street, you'll have 24-hour personnel there. And so that actually should promote safety in that area.
All the,
Am I
all the
confused?
retailers
Is it-
should thank them also. I mean,
What?
all the retailers on Lincoln Road will now have hopefully somewhat of a little bit more of a critical mass to support those businesses as well.
Ethan, was this the property that you thought about doing a grocery, high-end grocery store? Is it different?
No, no. This was, that was being looked at in the 420 building, and not this particular property.
Got it.
This is a question for my wife. Did you say Zara is going to be there?
Well, you know, if you venture north of 6th Street, you'll see that Zara has been there for many years.
Yeah.
But they have undergone, I don't know if it's completed already? They're remodeling. They're making a major expansion.
Fantastic.
So
And
that this is going to be not just a Zara store, but a Zara flagship store, right on the
She'll be
corner
pleased, thank you.
of Lincoln and Washington. Let her know.
I'm going to jump in, because I just want to address some of the things that were brought up at the neighborhood association, and some pertain to the CUP, but others are, yeah, they may. One thing we talked about at the presentation, it was mentioned that any parking, any people that have cars that are going to live there would be able to park in the adjacent garage. So what we've done previously for certain applications is restrict the ability of any resident there to apply for a parking decal from the city. In other words, what we don't want to see is people living in that building, if they have parking available on site, parking in the neighborhood and competing with other residents in the neighborhood. That was something that I think that you guys agreed to do.
Right. So we're not in a zone where the residents would be able to apply for a
But
decal.
that could be changed by the, moving forward. The city, they can expand the zone, so I guess I'd like to see something in the CUP that says any resident of the building cannot apply for a city parking decal in the adjacent zone.
Adjacent
Zone.
residents.
How many, I mean, point well taken, I guess, how many spaces do you plan on, and is it gonna be like $200 a space per, a month?
I can speak. The parking has 490.
Sorry, just if you don't mind
Cecilia
introducing
Torres
yourself.
Toledo, Ackerman LLP. The parking garage has approximately 492 parking spaces. We have 210 residential units. In the plans, we're allocating specifically, I believe it's 184 plans for the residences. But if you look at our zoning data sheet, there's also a reservation for parking spaces for the New World Symphony of 175. That exists on paper, but in reality, those parking spaces are not utilized. So our 210 units are gonna be able to park in the garage. In terms of operations, if it's going to be included in your rent or an extra charge, I'm not sure the team really knows that yet. It would have to depend on what the numbers look like at that time, but we do have the capacity to park every single unit within the garage.
Then there shouldn't be an objection to that condition of the CUP.
Mr. Needleman, I think It's something maybe we would be willing to revisit if at such time this area is included in the zone. But I think it's premature now to be precluding us.
I don't know, this is something we've done previously, in some applications.
What if so I get it, so what they're saying though is that right now, there's no residential parking permits to be had in that area because there's not enough space, I mean, it's not one of.
We're not in the zone that qualifies for permits.
Right, so I think maybe something we could add in, if they become in the zone or that issue arises in the future, there will be some sort of impact study or study about how many residents, a survey of how many residents, and kind of make a determination in the future. Right now, there's nothing we're doing it based on what possibly could happen in the future. I agree that we should include some sort of consideration because if there is a zone opened up and 200 residents realize it's way cheaper to do it there than
I would make a motion, if that zone or that location becomes available, you would need to come back to the planning board.
That's fine.
Okay.
In zone, yeah. Well, that is.
Yeah, I would say, I think that's the only.
That's the residential,
Yeah,
the residential
the only
zone,
one.
so it
Yeah.
would be zone 2 or its successor as it's
Okay.
designated.
Yeah, if you come back here and then we can
Yeah,
discuss it
that's
again,
fair.
I'd be okay with that.
That's certainly fair.
I'm suspecting if we're, based on the proposal from Commissioner Suarez, is if we're converting most of Washington into something residential, there's going to be a big movement to be trying to study, the parking issues for that area. So I think this will be part of a bigger plan.
Another thing, I know in the LDR amendments, it does say no short-term rentals. I don't see it in this order. I know, again, it's going to be part of the LDRs. I assume the LDRs for this application have that in. I don't recall. But again, on a lot of applications that come to us for CUPs, we've included that in the order as well, that there are no short-term rentals are allowed.
I mean, the LDRs are crystal clear. We can't get the zoning without.
Can I ask
that
staff,
covenant.
is that something that we could add to the CUP, that condition?
Both are true. Both LDR text amendments have a provision that in order to avail themselves of the FAR and the height, no short-term rentals are permitted. If the applicant agrees, I think that putting a condition in is just kind of double securing the fact that.
I think we've done that before, though, on certain
they have to
applications.
voluntarily.
It's in the belt and suspenders approach. It's okay if it's in this order as well.
Okay. And the last thing that I mentioned last time, and it came up at the meeting, we've seen, on some of the larger FAR increases, public benefits being a part of the project. That came up at the neighborhood association. I mean, there wasn't any specific things mentioned. We were just asking something for the neighborhood. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because we've heard that the city, I guess impact fees developers have been paying haven't been increased in 30 years. The idea is, any type of increase in FAR height, whatever, that maybe the developers should give back something to the city, the surrounding neighborhood. When it was brought up at the neighborhood association, I know Cecilia said, we can, think about it, talk about it. I don't know if you've come up with anything, but again, I know that's not part of the CUP. It would be something at commission level at the LDRs, but I'm just bringing that up now because I guess the LDR amendments are going to come back to us, and I'm going to bring it up again.
It isn't part of the CUP, that's correct, and I understood that it's conveyed to us. I do want to express something, we may have this discussion again when it comes back for the planning board, for final adoption. This is Ambassador Seijas doing the minimum necessary to do what he believes is create a viable project. So it's a minimal height increase, a minimal FAR increase. This is not the 2 to 2.5 times FAR increase and 2 times height increase, the other projects that you're talking about that paid public benefits. And this is what the city's comprehensive plan calls for. The win for the city is that we will develop market rate rental housing in the areas where it's needed. So, you know, we may have this discussion again, but I think people have to change their thinking a little bit about this. That when you come in with something like this, where you're doing the minimal necessary to achieve what the city's comprehensive plan seeks, that we shouldn't be tagged with, you gotta pay for it. And so,
Well, it's not, I guess the benefit, the way I envision it, is something commensurate with the scale of the project. I'm not talking about what some of these other larger FAR increases, what they propose, but it could be something like, you know, we talked about transportation, traffic. I know there's, you know, you're gonna, I guess, study and maybe signal or whatever the term is for the intersections there. Perhaps there's something more that can be done for traffic, things like that. I just think it's something to consider.
I'm sure we'll have more discussion.
Yeah, it'll come up again, but I just wanted to bring,
but
I know, again, it's not part of the CUP.
And
but I
I'm sort
wanted
of
to bring
taking
it up
off my
again.
hat as representing Ambassador Sayas and putting on my hat as a lifetime citizen and former mayor. We have to, you know, when people come in and ask for modest things which are needed to make projects happen, they're good projects, you know, we have to be careful about not always trying to ask for something to make it that much more difficult to achieve that project. You know, and if it is within the vision of the city, and this is within the vision is we need to have more market rate.
Well, I mean, I mean, we can go back and forth, but there are other visions in the city that we need to alleviate traffic congestion and pay for our infrastructure and a lot of things like that. So, again, I mean, we don't want to keep going back and forth here, but I think it may come up again. We'll see.
Anybody else?
I'd like to comment. Well, some of the concerns were addressed. I think this is a fantastic first project for us to be going the right direction here on Washington, and I do hear the concerns of some of my coworkers and some of the residents that called. But we're not going to get a perfect solution either way. I mean, there's going to be stuff to be addressed through it, but this is as good as it gets. And if we don't move forward with something like that, what's the alternative? And so it's a do-nothing at this point, because we do need projects that are viable, and not having a first sort of project that's showing an investment into this neighborhood is not helping us move forward. So again, not trying to be insensitive to some of the comments, I do understand some of the concerns, and we need to be making sure we're keeping a close watch on representing the residents and the city's interests. But I think this is a fantastic first move into revitalizing that area, so congratulations.
Agree.
Yeah, and I just want to make a positive comment too, that, you know, in an area that I live in where height is very sensitive, I think it is reasonable at 150. I think that the fact that you're moving this area toward multifamily apartments is brilliant, and is much needed, you know. So I find no big fault. I think it's a great project. Thank you.
With that, why don't you move it?
Yeah, I'll move it. Thank you.
With the proposed modification of the
Right.
condition, also with requiring waste, whatever, disposal on site, and what was the other?
The other was in the event that it is included in the Flamingo Park Parking District Number 2, that it will be reviewed at that time for, with respect to inclusion in that district.
Was that for the parking district condition, was that to bring back to the planning board to review?
That's
Yeah,
mine, yeah.
that was,
And also, we talked about in the CUP, no short-term rentals, even though that's in the LDRs, but.
Right.
but I added it in here.
Prohibition
That'll be
on
in the
short-term
order as well.
rentals.
Okay, with those amendments, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Shiel, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ambassador, always great to see you. All right, next is a new application, Planning Board File 240660, 1620 Drexel. And before we start, any disclosures on this one? Keith, Scott, any disclosures on this one?
No.
Okay, Melissa?
Nope.
Okay. Deb?
An application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a neighborhood impact establishment, including an alcoholic beverage establishment or restaurant located on the top floor of a building, whether fully enclosed, partially open, or open to the sky, including all open air portions above the roof on a property which is located within 200 feet of a property containing a residential unit. The applicant is proposing to construct, as part of a yet-to-be-constructed building, a restaurant within the addition to the community church property at the southwest corner of Lincoln Road and Drexel Avenue. The new restaurant is part of a unified development site that does contain the community church. The applicant has submitted this application pursuant to section 1.2.2.4, which is the neighborhood impact, as they are an alcoholic beverage establishment or restaurant that is also operating as an entertainment establishment or dance hall with an occupant contact of 200 or more persons, and the conditional use for the open air portion within 200 feet of a property containing a residential unit. The restaurant includes a total of 460 seats. 254 of those seats are indoor and 206 are located at the roof level. The total occupant content is 727 persons. The patron occupant contact is 683 persons. The applicant is proposing the following hours of operation: Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Indoor entertainment is proposed. That is located at the ground level, indoor entertainment. However, there is no outdoor entertainment proposed. Only ambient background level music is proposed at the roof level. Given the fact that all of the entertainment level sound will be contained within the existing building, staff did not require a sound study. I know the applicant has provided some information with regard to that. Also, given the intervening community church property that is located between the restaurant and the multifamily residential district to the south, we do not expect any adverse impacts with regard to sound. We have, however, included a couple conditions in the draft CUP just to further emphasize that the sound shall not be plainly audible from anywhere on the exterior of the property. We also have a condition that prior to the issuance of a CU, we will require an on-site testing with their sound consultant to confirm the appropriate music levels. There is no parking provided on site. All the valet operations will be through the city's exclusive Lincoln Road valet operator with a ramp located on Drexel Avenue. The applicant is proposing, as part of the construction plans, a double-door vestibule which should contain noise. They have provided a security and crowd control plan. Deliveries will take place between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. They are proposing to utilize the city's designated commercial and freight loading zones. Staff has no objection to this application. Again, we did include some conditions just to ensure that there is no sound spillage outside of the restaurant toward the residential properties. Now, I did speak with the applicant recently regarding one condition that we have as part of our sound regulations, and I'm going to let the applicant speak to that. But one of the conditions contained in the draft order prohibits the use of subwoofers on the roof. That's a relatively standard condition. You know, to be honest, it may be a somewhat antiquated condition because the technology of speakers and sound has evolved. There are much smaller type amplifiers these days, and we have received information from the applicant sound consultant that would like to slightly modify that condition to allow very small subwoofer type speakers at the roof level placed at a low level, which apparently have a better efficiency of keeping sound within the space and not having it spill. So I will let them get into that. But with that, we are recommending approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board member, staff. Michael Larkin, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, here representing the applicant. With me today is Mikey Tanha from Noble 33, Todd Tragash from PJ, can you pull up the presentation? Thank you. Todd Dragash from STA Architectural Group, Adrian Dabowski from Kimley Horn, and Andy Swerdlow from Criterion Acoustics. Next slide. So the property is located at the southwest corner of Lincoln Road and Drexel Avenue. As you all know, this is the first clear evidence that the James Corner plan is actually real and taking place, because they're constructing the improvements right now in this particular area of Drexel Avenue. It's kind of exciting to watch it finally come to fruition after a decade. Next slide. Property is currently a vacant site surrounded by a construction fence with mesh. Next slide. This is what it will look like. It's a two-story restaurant space with rooftop dining. The Tuzet firm actually did the exteriors here. They did a beautiful job. This was approved a long time ago, and now I'm excited to also see this come to fruition. Next slide. This property is a part of a larger property, Unified Development Site, all owned by the Miami Beach Community Church. As you see on the right-hand side, the sanctuary was restored about 5 years ago and is spectacular now through Debbie's guidance. Next slide. Tosh Berman is a well-known restaurateur, real estate developer, prominent figure in this luxury hospitality industry. He founded Noble 33, and we are very grateful that he is our client, and we're working with him to bring this particular high-concept restaurant to you all on Lincoln Road. Next slide. Noble 33 has restaurants throughout the United States. If you look at the third bullet, they're partnering with global icons, including Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on the upcoming 1587 Prime. Next slide.
Travis Kelce.
I just had to include that.
Might as well throw in Taylor Swift.
Celeb power. Casa Madeira, they operate that in West Hollywood. West Hollywood is one of the toughest jurisdictions operating in the whole United States, yet they operate there immediately adjacent to residential uses and have done so successfully without any complaint since its opening. Next slide. There you have Medusa Mediterranean, New York City is the meatpacking district. It was just named Yelp's #1 best new restaurant for 2024. Next slide. And you can get their lamb chops or the Garden of Eden Spritz. I've had a long week, so that Spritz is looking particularly good right now. Next slide. This is the main dining room in that same location. Next slide. This is just across the bay, Sparrow Italia in Wynwood. Next slide. This is the one in Mayfair, London. Next slide. So I just wanted to impress upon you, because there's been a lot of talk always critical of Lincoln Road, how it's dying, how it's not there anymore. But I, thankfully, based upon what I do, I operate from a different perspective. And I see Lincoln Road being resurgent right now. This is the Western End. Note that Infinity Group just bought Michael Schro's assemblage, so that's moving forward quickly. Citizen M Hotel has come to Lincoln Road. Anatomy is injecting much needed life into this block of Lincoln Road. Then you all approved the Superhuman Museum just last month. Alain Ducasse, one of the most famous chefs in the restaurant, is going to occupy the Banana Republic building. The nice guy is H-Wood Group. They have Delilah in Brickell City Center. Next slide. Then you have Oro Miami and Mila Miami, always just knocks it out of the park. You have Osterio de Fornata, and then the City Commission just approved paddleball courts on the rooftop of the Lincoln Road Garage. Next slide. You have Andres Carne de Res, my favorite Colombian restaurant. You have our restaurant, which will be located at Caddy Corner. Jamaj is right now a gym, but we represent them as well. I know that there's a restaurant coming on the rooftop there. And then, of course, you all, Paul Sejas is a wonderful guy, and he has this vision that just came to fruition today with the apartments that you all just approved a few minutes ago. Next slide. So we're seeking a conditional use permit for a neighborhood impact establishment with an entertainment establishment component. The rooftop, as Debbie mentioned, will not have any entertainment. Entertainment will be within the interior space, and know that they are not some type of club restaurant. They value service, the ambiance, and the food. They don't value the beating music. While there is room for that, It's just a part of what they are. It's not, it does not define who they are. Next slide. And of course, staff is recommending approval. We agree with 99% of the staff recommendation. As Debbie mentioned, there's that one slight modification to the prohibition on subwoofers on the rooftop dining area. My partner Paul passed out to you all our proposed language. I'm happy to go through it toward the end of the presentation. Next slide. Of course, this is the most intense zoning district. It's the CD3 zoning district. We're located within the Flamingo Park Local Historic District. That gives the Historic Preservation Board jurisdiction over this property. We're going to appear before them next Tuesday. Next slide. This is the ground floor. You see that we're going to be entering from Drexel Avenue. There's a double door vestibule to capture any noise so it doesn't spill outside. Moving north from there, there's a spiral staircase going to the second floor. Then you have seating all along the Lincoln Road facade to promote that type of pedestrian interaction with the interior space. And then fully 50% of this ground floor is back of house. Next slide. Second story, mostly dining area. The private dining room is to the west, and again, about 50% is back of house. Next slide. Here you have our rooftop dining area, many chairs up there. You'll see the area that's bracketed in red is our back of house area that's really solid. This was done with intention, so no sound from any of the crowd noise would be transmitted to the south. This is a very solid surfaces all through that area. Next slide. This is the back of house solid structures. That's what we're trying to tell you all, that there's really very little opportunity for any noise to escape the rooftop dining area and be transmitted south. Next slide. And as you can tell, we are a great distance away from the nearest residential use, over 100 feet. This is like putting a 10-story building, laying it on its side. And as Debbie mentioned, there is also the church fellowship hall that's right there. So as in addition to the solid services that are already on our rooftop dining area. Next slide. This is Casa Madera, as I described earlier. Note the adjacency of the residential uses. Casa Madera is bordered in red. There's a residential use immediately adjacent, and then a little bit to the right. They've never had a single complaint because Noble 33 prides itself on getting along with all of its neighbors. Next slide. Go ahead.
Does that restaurant have outdoor dining?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Rooftop dining.
Which one, Casa Madera?
Casa
They
Madera.
had one in Wynwood, I think, didn't they?
They have Sparrow and Wynwood.
Right, but upstairs, I think
Yeah.
that at Casa Madera, but I think they closed.
Wynwood's got a lesser residue population. I
Yeah.
point out West Hollywood because I know how tough they are out there,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's immediately adjacent.
What's the restaurant group called?
Noble 33.
Okay.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Andy Swerdlow. Debbie was correct. They did not require a noise study, but we always try to go above and beyond the basic requirements to give you all the greatest comfort. And I'm going to have, is Andy somewhere hanging out there in the Zoom universe?
Yes.
Can you promote him to be a panelist?
Andy?
Hi, Andy. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Andy.
So we did an environmental model where we modeled the sound from the speakers on the roof, and we modeled the sound from patrons. I believe we did 100 people screaming, and that will not be louder than the ambient noise that we measured in the neighborhoods, specifically the residential areas south of the property, which would be most likely to be impact if there were very loud activity on the roof. What we are proposing for the roof are the AV designer is in the process of designing small satellite speakers that will be mounted at around 8 feet close to patrons on the roof, and then a small woofer which would be mounted under the seats. And as Debbie was mentioning before, I'm not sure I would even call this a subwoofer. Either the 6.5-inch driver can go up at 8 feet with the satellite speaker, or it can go down below In terms of sound egress, it actually works better to have it below. So that's something that we would like to actually see more of. And we can manage that with the digital sound processor to limit the amount of sound and have it be more effective on the roof, and while also obtaining less sound egress. So those, the last slide, are the preliminary sound level limits that we're imagining, or that we modeled. Site conditions could vary by plus or minus 3 decibels, but during commissioning, that would be measured on site and then measured in the neighborhood so that there is no impact. And then the limiters would be set. Next slide. So here's the results from the environmental acoustic model with the music noise, and the receiver locations, which the red arrow is pointing to, are all 10 dB below the ambient noise level, more than 10 dB below. And this we anticipate, based on other similar properties, that we're not going to have audible music at 100 feet. Next slide. This is the patron noise model results. Here we have 90 patrons talking at a normal sound level. So they're, okay. So this is using the loud level according to ANSI 3.5. So this is an unlikely sound level to be achieved by patrons on the roof. There would have to be a soccer game going on and everybody cheering after a score or something. Normal conversation does not get this loud. So with everyone yelling at the same time, we are not breaching the ambient sound levels in the surrounding area.
But what if Travis and Taylor show up?
What if Travis visits?
All right, go ahead.
That would be trouble.
Well, then people should probably keep it down because they would be dining and
All right, go ahead.
it wouldn't be so nice to be screaming at them. So in a highly unusual event, it is possible that you could hear patron sound beyond 100 feet. I would say it is extremely unlikely. I'm being very scientific right now. In normal case with dining patrons up there, it's going to be even quieter than the music level. So the music is more likely to disturb the neighborhood than this in practice.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Anything else? No, we're good. All right, we're just going to wrap it up, Mr. Chairman, just a couple more minutes. Next slide. So I'm just going to show you a series of renderings of the rooftop. This is looking south. Next slide. Just point this out so there's no ambiguity. It looks like you're looking all the way through, but in fact, those are mirrors. And so it's reflecting the landscaping that's to the north of it. Next slide. Again, just looking south, the opposite side of the rooftop dining area. Next slide. Another shot. Next slide.
I've been to all the restaurants. They're great.
And we approached the Lincoln Road bid. We made a presentation to them, and we are very happy to say we have their support. They're very much excited about another high-quality restaurant coming to the road. Next slide. And that's it. What I'd like, Mr. Chairman, if Mikey Tanha from Noble 33 could just give you all a couple of minutes.
For what it's worth, I've been to a lot of your restaurants. They're fantastic.
Thank
and
you,
well
thank
run.
you. Good morning.
Just can't
planning
get
board
into them,
members.
but go ahead.
Thank you. By the way, Taylor and Patrick and Travis probably will show up. We'll just ban them from the rooftop. My name is Mikey Tana, co-founder and CEO of Noble 33. Our group builds high-end restaurants that pair thoughtful design with great culinary and beverage programs. Our other brands include Toca Madera, which is our flagship Mexican steakhouse, Sparrow Italia, which launched in London, but we brought to Wynwood. That's our Italian steakhouse. Casa Madera that you saw a slide, that's our Mayan Rivieran concept, has indoor-outdoor dining. And 1587 Prime, 15 for Patrick, 87 for Travis. We brought them in as partners on our new American Steakhouse. And Taylor did visit for the opening and the tasting. She's been pretty actively involved. With Medusa, we're bringing that same standard to South Beach. It's a place where locals can come in and dine with their families and friends, but also visitors will seek out. It was inspired by Tosh and my's travel to the Mediterranean. We go to Europe all the time, and we love Mediterranean food. So it pulls from all the different countries and regions of the Mediterranean, and it's going to be very high-end. We're excited about it. I moved to South Beach 2 years ago, and I've been waiting for this restaurant to open, so we want to bring that to the community and hopefully to all of you.
Thanks.
That's all, Mr. Chairman. We're all available for your questions.
Yeah, well, let's open it to public comment. What did I tell you? Just identify yourself and your affiliation. Go ahead, sir.
Sure, thank you. My name's Adam Shedroff. I live at 520 16th Street, 1 block away from the proposed restaurant. I'm concerned about the rooftop sound. There have been problems with rooftop music and rooftop noise at other locations. When there are problems, we can hear any number of restaurants on Miami Beach. On Lincoln Road. I'm concerned about if there can be any restrictions on the noise or any temporary restrictions put on or any possibility for reviewing in case there are issues. Also, one of the issues we have with noise from Lincoln Road is when the restaurants close, they'll sometimes turn the music louder so that it will be a nice environment for the people cleaning up and so forth. So I'd like to request that the music be turned off at closing time. And also I'm concerned about the hours. 2 o'clock in the morning on weekdays seems extreme. And I'm not sure that it's appropriate to give an extension for this restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in chambers? Anybody on Zoom?
Yes, on Zoom, we have Johan Moore.
Yes, good morning again. I can only echo the immediate neighbors' concerns. Thank you to Adam. As a long-involved member of the neighborhood and neighborhood association for those. But I will say, I'll make some positive comments about this. I think the neighborhood really appreciates, even though there are concerns about the noise, the sound study that you did. It gives us a basis on which to discuss potential issues. I would ask that the developer and the restaurateur remain extremely sensitive to that, but not just from the point of view of decibels, but also from the point of view of the impact of any bass that could possibly be transmitted from inside the interior. Unlike the previous project, this project is contextually appropriate in terms of its height. And while that may not have been possible, I don't know, we certainly appreciate that the proposal does not include 20 stories of some sort of residential above it, unlike some other projects. Sound mitigation really is, I think, key in this case, and we would ask that you remain very cognizant of that and that this board, if appropriate, impose conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? Okay. Close the public hearing. I'm just going to tell you, as I mentioned before, I've been to a lot of their establishments, especially Sparrow, and they're really, really well run, and their entertainment is fantastic, and they're very aware of neighborhood noise because every time I go there's a doorman that makes me go back inside until my car's there. So just want to commend you, really. I think you've been a great addition to Wynwood, and I welcome it to Miami Beach. With that, questions, Keith, Scott, John?
No.
Anybody have any questions or someone want to move it? Okay, Jonathan?
So won't the CUP expire if you guys don't open, it's not, the construction, has it started?
Well, the way it would work, we have a year and a half to obtain a full building permit, and we can extend that by a year.
Okay.
But what you're thinking about is, once it's in operation, if it stops for a period of time that exceeds 6
That's it.
months, then you're out of luck.
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure if it was from the issuance. Okay, so, is there anything, I mean, is there a way, I think, I mean, the residents' concerns are, you know, well-founded, I guess. Can we do a sound study once it's built and we have the property there and the engineers can actually go up there and do a sound study? Because I think that's the better way of protecting the residents, to make sure it's really not audible to the residents. Is that part of?
I think Debbie drafted it like that.
Yeah, I think
That is part of it.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then, given that there's no entertainment on the roof, are they allowed to have special events with entertainment? With a permit?
Usually, you could have a special event with entertainment.
Okay. Is there a limit, is there a number per year, maybe staff knows, that they're allowed? Because I would maybe limit that, because I mean.
The code is confusing when it comes to the number of special events, as you have a certain number of special events as a private property owner, and then you can piggyback on the city special events that could be closer to 20, but I don't think we need 20 at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's
Yeah.
come up with it, because then that can just be 20 nights, you know, in a row. I mean, I know you won't do that, but to limit the number of special events with entertainment. I don't mind special events, but with like extra people or whatever, but it's the entertainment
I think
noise.
12 would be the maximum we would ever possibly do.
Okay.
So
Um,
we can agree to that limitation.
That's a good question. Is special events, can they, with entertainment on the rooftop?
They could.
Till 2 in the morning? With
In-
music,
in
like a
theory.
band?
In theory, I don't think that would happen here.
I mean,
because-
it just blows everything you just presented in your sound
True.
study.
Well, with a special event, you can have entertainment, but you can't violate the noise regulations. So it's like a.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost guaranteed if you have live music.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is like, yes, it seems like it's being permissive, but at 11 PM, the noise regulation kicks in that says
Yeah.
noise cannot be plainly audible within 100 feet of your property.
Correct.
And 100 feet is basically 2 apartment buildings south from us.
Well, Deb, the special event permits, they still have to be approved by the city, right?
Correct.
And they can be conditioned?
In the neighborhood, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll have to.
I mean, that was
present
part of the
Just
issue in
wanted
the
to
past, that
understand.
the neighbors didn't, you know, have any part in this process, and they were sort of just stamped, it was like a rubber stamp approval. That was it, but I think it's, you know, 12 event, they're limiting it to 12, and I think that's fair. And then I assume you're good with the music off at closing?
Yeah.
Okay.
No music after they close.
Yeah, and I guess this came up, I thought, with the Andres restaurant, where the music was plainly audible outside the doors in the vestibule, and that was part of like one of their first, I say, package of violations, which they've all cured, so it's good for them. But I just want to make, and I know you're going to have the double vestibule, but is that part of this, that you can't hear, you shouldn't be able to hear any music outside of the?
Debbie, I don't want to steal her thunder. She came up with a very good condition that we agreed to. Go ahead, Debbie.
Right, that no sound from anywhere on the exterior of the property could be plainly audible. And we have a condition, not only that that's a requirement of the CUP, but that we, prior to issuing the CU, that we actually go out and test their sound system to confirm that.
Okay.
Plus, I think with that other restaurant, they misinterpreted their CUP. Remember, they didn't understand it.
Yeah, but.
In spite of my best efforts.
I'm not,
yes, they did.
I'm not blaming them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I remembered it, but I see it here in
Yeah.
the last sentence, that's why.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, anybody else? So want to move it?
So moved with those
Conditions.
limitations and
Okay.
new conditions.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
And then.
Great.
Oh, wait.
This is with our subwoofer modification.
Oh, well, let's, is the city okay with, like, what is staff?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, I'm okay with their sound condition, considering the other conditions we have, I believe, are safeguarding any sound spillage. But I wanted a clarification, did the limitation on special events with entertainment get into your motion?
Yeah. I heard
Okay, so that was a limit of 12 per calendar year. Special events with entertainment?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I have no objection to the additional modification to the sound.
Can we add the new idea of having, that the restaurant, the operators will provide a point of contact and a phone number to nearby residents?
Yes, well, that
Cool.
could be a condition.
Figured that wouldn't be a problem for you guys, but.
Just give him Mike's number. All right, so with that, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
Great.
Good luck.
Thank you
Welcome.
all very much. Appreciate your
right.
time.
Thanks for the presentation. Okay, we are on to code amendments. Planning Board File 250798, side yard open space requirements in single-family districts.
Okay, thank you. This is an ordinance of the Mayor and City
Page
Commission.
87, sorry, go ahead.
Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, amending the code of the City of Miami Beach, Subpart B, entitled Miami Beach Resiliency Code by amending Chapter 7, entitled Zoning Districts and Regulations, Article 2, entitled District Regulations, Section 7.2.2, entitled RS1, RS2, RS3, RS4, Single-Family Residential Districts by modifying the two-story house standard specific to open space requirements for side elevations of single-family homes. So this is somewhat of a clarification ordinance. The current regulations for single-family homes require that any two-story elevation along the side of the property that exceeds 60 feet in length be broken up, basically, by providing additional kind of setbacks or notches to a certain percentage. That's to protect the neighbors, the light and air, not having a run-on sentence solid wall that creates that adverse impact on the neighbors. We've clarified a lot of the language in the ordinance. Substantively, we are recommending that we modify the language to allow multiple portions of that elevation to count toward that additional open space. Currently, they have to provide one area that's at least 8 feet in depth along that elevation that meets the additional open space. We're recommending it be modified so that along that elevation in multiple areas, they can provide those open spaces as long as the aggregate equals the minimum. So it's a relatively simple ordinance. We do believe this will streamline kind of the review process as well, because we've clarified some of the language in terms of how it's measured, what can be in this open space. For example, it was not clear previously if water features were eligible to be in this open space or if mechanical equipment could be in some of these locations. So we've clarified that and are recommending the planning board transmit this with a favorable recommendation.
Okay. Anybody in chambers to speak on this? No. Anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Not surprising, okay.
Quick question?
Sure.
So just to clarify, this was already in the code, but this is just, I guess, what, reiterating or?
It's clarifying and basically revising it to be a little bit more flexible for architects to provide this open space in multiple locations along the side. But yes, the current regulation is already within our regulations for single, and this is applicable to single family only.
This is making it less onerous because now there's some flexibility to the design team.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Motion?
Yep.
Move it
Motion to
favorably.
approve?
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Favorable recommendation. Next is Planning Board File 250799, bicycle ride share station incentives.
This is an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, amending the City of Miami Beach Code, Subpart B, entitled Miami Beach Resiliency Code, by amending Chapter 1, entitled General Provisions, Article 2, entitled Definitions, Section 1.2.1, entitled General Definitions, by creating a definition for a bicycle ride share station. by amending Chapter 5 entitled Off-Street Parking, Article 2 entitled Vehicle Parking, Bicycle Parking, and Off-Street Loading Requirements, Section 5.2.14 entitled Alternate Parking Incentives by modifying the alternate parking incentives to include a provision for a bicycle rideshare station, by amending Chapter 7 entitled Zoning Districts and Regulations, Article 1 entitled General to All Zoning Districts, Section 7.1.11 entitled Residential Use Incentives, to include a provision for requiring bicycle rideshare stations by amending Article 5 entitled Supplementary District Regulations, Section 7.5.3 entitled Supplementary Yard Regulations by amending the allowable setback encroachments to include bicycle rideshare stations. So basically, this ordinance does a few things. Number one, we create a definition of what a bicycle rideshare station is. And that would be a designated location featuring docks, racks, or similar devices where bicycles are secured when not in use, and which is part of a network of stations allowing users to pick up and return bicycles from one station to another for short-term use. So what this changes in terms of the off-street parking requirements is that we currently have alternate parking strategies that can be used to reduce your vehicular parking requirement, things like bike racks and scooters. This would actually allow someone on private property to introduce one of these rideshare stations within their private property that would also be able to reduce their vehicular parking requirement. This also,
But then who actually effectuates that?
so because it has to be part of a network, I think that's where it gets a little bit tricky for a private property owner. But they could, work with the existing network, City Bike, or I'm not sure if there's other companies
I
out
was gonna
there.
say, do we have an exclusive vendor relationship on that, the beach?
For the public portions of the properties, we do. This would be applicable, this provision, to reduce your vehicular parking requirement would be to put this on your private property.
Right, but would it have to be with the whatever vendor we currently work?
No, it wouldn't. It could be with, there's some other service that, that exists that, particular building set up for its residents, for example, the building could participate in that service. Doesn't have to be the city's provider.
Okay. I just didn't know if that would be chaotic, but
I mean, imagine there could be a residential building that contracts with a specific company to do bicycle sharing for its residents where, they have to be returned to the one location. I think this is.
yeah, I was just gonna say, because if they're different vendors, then they couldn't be returned to different locations, right? They'd have to be stuck with their only.
Well, even if a private property owner uses the same company that the city has a relationship with, they would need to work that out with the city's vendor to allow, bikes from the private property to be
Right.
returned to the.
Right, but I'm just saying, if it's the same company and the same bikes, that probably won't be an issue. I just find it, odd that if they have their own private vendor, then they'd have one station. And that would be it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The motivation behind this amendment is to just have more of these stations? Is that the reason why we're introducing the private properties as part of the?
I think the idea is that to the extent properties offer micro-mobility, the understanding is that it gives their residents or patrons a chance to reduce their need for spots.
Okay.
Yeah, the intent is clear,
Correct.
and it's a
Let's
good
get
intent.
cars off the street because we're
Yeah.
offering some other type of options.
What is the utilization of City Bike been very good? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I know Jake takes it almost every day, and there are times where there aren't bikes available.
Right, okay.
So I think, this would not only expand potentially the amount of bikes available, it also gets them off of the right-of-way, which I think could be helpful. For our, we have some areas that are very congested in terms of sidewalk width and things like that, so.
All right, and you all don't
It
see
would
any.
be voluntary obviously, for property.
Yeah, but you
private
don't see any
property owners.
logistical issues with having different private rideshare companies.
But sorry, to your point, this isn't open to this is just for the
Private.
project. This is just private use. This has nothing to do with the city
Right.
kind of ride-sharing options, correct?
It would,
So this
correct, but it would have.
This would just be kind of the insular network of whatever this project is trying to do. So I don't think you deal with the confusion that you're talking about.
Well, no, what I'm saying is they would, if they took advantage of the incentive, they would have a ride share within their property.
Right. So it's
all
not
I'm saying
competing
is
with
it wouldn't
city
be-
bike
No,
as
not
much.
about competition,
No,
I'm saying logistics.
Mhm.
Like you wouldn't be able to take that bike and go somewhere and drop it off at another location because they only have one location.
Right, so I think what is that, you want to go to.
I think,
Pura Vida,
but I
and you're
do
just
think the
taking-
intent was that you could, right, on private property have, I mean, realistically, it's probably going to be an existing vendor,
That's what I
right?
would
We're-
think,
We can't mandate that.
I get it.
But someone could, for example, contract with City Bike to operate this.
Correct.
And it would be on private property, but it would be used in the same
Correct, because that
manner.
would be part of their network.
Correct.
I got it. Okay, you can't mandate it, but I'm assuming that would, any property owner would want to use an existing vendor that's been here and done that, right? Okay, all right.
Motion to approve?
Well, anyone
Oh,
here,
sorry.
could I ask anyone, you're not here for this, are you? Is there anyone on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
Okay,
I
Keith?
just want to understand, this is only applicable for new projects, right? I mean, this has nothing to do with an existing condo or commercial property to reduce their requirements.
Correct.
And I don't
Okay.
think it's mandated if they want the incentive.
And if
then
they
can
want it,
put in
it's,
correct.
so they're, like this gentleman building, he could, if this passed and he had that new building and he put that, it would reduce his requirement for parking.
Correct.
Okay.
We've done this in different
It
cities.
makes sense, yeah.
And it's-
New York.
They've actually provided additional height for it,
Uh-huh.
but this is
Yeah.
an easy one here.
All right,
No.
you moved it, Ishiel, then can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. And the last code amendment, planning board file 250805, temporary conditional use regulations in commercial districts.
Okay, this is an ordinance amending Code of the City of Miami Beach, Subpart B, entitled Miami Beach Resiliency Code by amending Chapter 2, entitled Administration and Review Procedures, Article 5, entitled Rezonings and Development Approvals, Section 2.5.2, entitled Conditional Use, by creating an exceptions provision for conditional use regulations in designated commercial districts. This particular item was requested by Commissioner Fernandez. It was discussed at the Land Use Committee and referred to the Planning Board. The Land Use Committee did recommend favorably. So what this would do is create a window whereby certain businesses that would qualify for a neighborhood impact establishment could be approved administratively. So they would not require a conditional use permit to be reviewed by this planning board. The areas are limited to Washington Avenue between Fifth Street and Lincoln Road between Collins Avenue and Alton Road, Collins Avenue between 65th and 75th Streets, 71st Street or Normandy Drive between Collins Avenue and Rue Notre Dame. It would be for a limited time, so any potential business would be required to either obtain a building permit or a certificate of use no later than December 31st, 2026, so about a year from now. It's important to note that entertainment would not be permitted as part of this administrative review process. So entertainment would not be part of any type of administrative CUP process. The intent behind it was really to try and cut some of the process for businesses in very specific commercial corridors where we're seeing a lot of vacancies, and really trying to encourage reactivation of these storefronts. Staff is supportive of this and is recommending that the planning board transmit with a favorable recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Are you here for this? Okay. Anyone on Zoom?
Yes, we have KHR.
Hello, this is Kent Robbins. How are you doing today? Can you hear me?
Yep. How you doing, Kent?
Hi. As you all know, I'm a land use attorney, and I have had a lot of activity in Miami Beach. The concern I have, and I just want to make certain it's crystal clear in the actual ordinance, that the granting of a temporary conditional use permit does not provide any vested rights to the recipients of those permits. The reason why I'm concerned about that is in the past, and it's been litigated by the city has been, ends up becoming stuck with certain permits that have been approved where those activities are no longer compatible with the built-out environment. But the courts have determined that those permits are vested. So given that this is going to be intended to be only temporary, I think that the language in the actual ordinance has to be actually state that they're putting the recipients on notice that there are no vested rights created by this permit other than any rights that are created are clearly sunset. And without specifically addressing the vested rights, there may be a waiver by the city as to the enforceability of the sunset provisions with respect to what might be perceived as vested rights. So I'm just asking that there be one sentence included in the eventual legislation that specifies that there are no vested rights created by this conditional use permit. And if there is any determination that there is any rights, those rights are sunsetted. As it's presently worded, that is not crystal clear. Thank you.
So I guess for Nick,
Yeah, I can respond to that, Mr. Chairman. So, what is temporary in this ordinance is the 1-year window to come in for an applicant to submit an application for approval. The approval itself is not temporary. This would be an approval like any other. What is unique about this ordinance, and again, this ordinance is intended to stimulate economic activity along the four identified corridors. So what's unique about this is that upon a violation of certain ordinances of the code, including a violation of this ordinance, that the use would be subject to revocation by the city manager. And then if ultimately the use were revoked by the city manager, then the applicant's alternative would be to either appeal the revocation or submit an application for conditional use approval and come before this board like every other applicant for an NIE would have to do now.
So the city manager would have that discretion, just the city manager?
Correct, and then that decision would be reviewable by the Board of Adjustment, or alternatively, if you get a violation of this ordinance and you're required to shut down your NIE use, you could submit a conditional use permit application like the applications we've seen today.
But if the city manager were to revoke the CUP, that happens within what type of time frame?
Well, it wouldn't be so what this ordinance does is it relaxes the conditional use permit requirement for that 1-year period to try to stimulate economic activity along these four corridors. So if you take advantage of this incentive, but then you're adjudicated to have violated one of the identified ordinances in the ordinance, you would be required to shut down. And the ordinances are the special events ordinance, the noise ordinance, or the requirements of this section.
And how do they take advantage of an initiative? Like, what do they have to do?
They would submit an application to the planning department, and the planning department would review it for compliance with all the restrictions in this draft ordinance that's before you, and any other regulations that would apply under the code.
Well, at that time, with the staff, just like when a project and an application comes in front of us now, they have a proposed final order. I guess they would do the same thing. They would have, or
No.
or at least word it, put those in their approval. Maybe it's not a final order, but
So in this, the way the ordinance is drafted, the application and approval process would be the same as a building permit application and process and/or an application, if a building permit's not required, a certificate of use application. We would, staff would review it and create conditions and/or notes that this is a neighborhood impact establishment approved pursuant, if this is adopted pursuant to this. But there wouldn't be the same level of review. I mean, the point of this is to remove that
that's what I'm getting at.
level
And
of review.
I like the idea of streamlining the process, and that you would basically provide the same conditions that would be part of their review. I'm just a little leery because, number one, I think, it would take the city manager it's taken the planning board. When I first got on, there were a lot of projects that keep coming back with violation after violation after violation. Took us a while to do something. I don't know if the city manager would act the same way, or if, if there's a one violation,
It has to come to planning
we're going to revoke it, the approval. So I'm a little leery about that, but also, there are so many, I'm thinking along Washington Avenue on the west side, next to the residential neighborhood, and so many times that applications have come in front of the planning board, and we've talked about noise, we've talked about traffic, parking, things like that. And I just, a lot of times, good ideas came from the project being hashed out at the planning board. I'm not saying I don't have faith in staff, but I'm just concerned about some of those projects. For instance, years ago, I forget if it's called the Supper Club now, but Queen on 6th and Washington. Under this ordinance, that would not come in front of the planning board. Is that correct?
That's correct. And if I could just make one clarification to what I said previously about the entertainment component of this administrative review process. So like Queen, there is one exception where entertainment could be included as part of the administrative NIE. And that's if the business meets the strict definition that we have for restaurant supper club. So that's with the percentage of sales to food, et cetera. So the indoor entertainment, outdoor entertainment is not part of this, but indoor entertainment for businesses only that satisfy the restaurant supper club. But so that's correct. I believe Queen does satisfy that restaurant supper club definition. And they do have entertainment. So something, a business that is going into an existing building that, say Queen wasn't there and they wanted to come in, that would be an administrative review under this, this proposed temporary NIE ordinance.
I'd say, even though I'm a little leery, I like to hear what everyone else thinks. I'd be okay with maybe trying it for a year or passing this. But one thing I would want to add, if we do pass this, and I'd like to add something that if the city manager deems it necessary to revoke the approval, I know they can come back to us, but I would say put a one-year timeframe. They can't come back and reapply for a year. In other words, if it gets to that point where the city manager actually has to shut them down, I'm assuming it's really bad, they can't come back and reapply to the planning board for a CUP for a year.
Can you do that?
And I get what you're saying. I mean, my concern is the residents don't have a voice in this.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so there's no, it can get approved administratively, but the residents are up in arms. They don't want.
You mean in the approval process?
During the approval process.
But what would result in a revocation by the manager, I assume, would be
Yeah,
resident
but that's,
Community feedback.
that's
I
like
hear you.
Mickey Beach.
Right,
They're
but
still
at
playing
that
very
point-
loud.
At that point, you have the operators' lawyers in here saying we have investments, we invested $1 million, we're doing our best, you know, we don't want to deter businesses from coming here. And then at that point, it's too late. The burden ends up being on the residents. And obviously, you know, nobody wants to shut a place down for one violation, but
But then maybe I'm confused then, because if I understand this correctly, planning staff will review and approve, right?
Yeah.
And they're going, I'm assuming you will impose some type of protections to the residents, right?
We could, yes, we would impose conditions like we can with any
And I'm just trying to think of the
permit.
difference between if our board does it. To me,
But
this
our
just,
board solicits input. We had residents
correct.
in a restaurant that we just approved on 810.
Right, and the
Even though it's not,
affected
it would assume that restaurant in, off of South Point was in this zone.
Correct.
What would happen to all those people that unanimously had a problem and finally they got resolution? Let me ask another hypothetical. If this restaurant that was just proposed by that gentleman, and he has to build the building, does this include rooftop? If the building was already there and it had a rooftop, could they get this?
Yes, as long as there was
Well,
no rooftop entertainment.
That's horrible. The fact that we have been trying as a city to regulate noise out of rooftops and to just.
But they would not be able to get it. They would not be able to get the approval.
Oh,
if there
I'm
was a
sorry, did you
rooftop.
say if it was a building with a
Well,
rooftop, they
this is
could not apply
only
for
if there's
this?
no
A rooftop alcoholic beverage establishment
Yeah.
is defined as a neighborhood impact establishment if it's within 200 feet of a property with a residential building. So that could be included
It could
as
be
part of this,
included.
as long as there was no entertainment level music.
Yeah, but it could be speakers, just like this, and there is absolutely,
So-
I can't tell you how many times I've been on this board a little bit, and you guys say, yeah, it's okay, and we ask questions, and we have residents asking questions. You are totally bypassing the concern of sound, and I find that totally unacceptable. I could not
So
take
maybe
that.
that's
if-
something to consider to include, because I think, you know, there's some good initiative in this, try to bypass and just promote some of
You
the
could-
business, but at
you
the same
could
time,
narrow
we're
it
trying to
down,
protect.
but
Right, so
this
there's some of the
is
things that
just
we know
so
that are
wide
always
open.
issues. and
Yeah, you could say
rooftop are
only
always
in
One at a time, one at a
issues.
time, one at a
Right,
time.
so I think, you know, if we can sort of pinpoint the stuff that we know always come up that are more sensitive, and we can try to get that included in there, so that doesn't get a fast pass.
So-
I think
And
that
and
kind
I'm
of
assuming
protects.
there's no public input in this procedure to address case concern?
This would be an administrative procedure, right? So it would be, your applications would be reviewed for strict compliance with the code. But it's not a public hearing.
Right.
So I mean, I understand the purpose behind this, and I commend Commissioner Fernandez for coming up with creative ways of doing these. I think we all sort of agree with wanting to encourage, you know, properties to open up, you know, businesses to open up in these specific areas. But I think that it needs to be modified with specific, you know, to address our specific concerns, and there should be carve-outs. There should be, you know, some version of notice to the residents that they've applied for an administrative, you know, process, and there's a way for residents to object, or whatever it may be, or at least have a meeting with the city, you know, the staff. The other thing, you know, the sunset provision, maybe it should be a temporary permit for only one, that's valid for only 1 year, instead of, you know, this ordinance, you know, expiring in a year. Maybe it shouldn't apply to spaces that are the size of Queen, for example.
Yeah, it should have a size
Maybe it shouldn't
limitation.
apply to establishments with rooftop, you know, seating. And so I think there are ways there are good things about this. I just think that maybe we should, you know, and I defer to everybody if we vote it down, or whether we continue it, and maybe have staff provide some proposals of recommendations to address sort of these concerns, and then next month we can, you know, come up with, you know, have them spelled out as exceptions to this for what we would approve. But I don't know what everybody else.
Well, I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think the perfect example is a 728-person restaurant that we said was good, but it went through our review and it had a rooftop and they could apply for just administrative. We can't do that. That's just cutting out all the residents' input to large. So there needs to be a size, whether that's 200 seats or 150 seats, and I agree, and if limited, so no rooftops, that kind of stuff might be
Well, I think
applicable to
And
this.
this already says no outdoor use, correct?
Entertainment.
No outdoor entertainment.
Entertainment. You
Entertainment,
could have,
Okay, so
you could have an outdoor with
considering
speakers.
these spaces, then couldn't we say, because we're also just providing recommendations, whether it's
Yeah.
favorable or not, we could say, make a motion to approve the favorable recommendation, provided that there is no rooftop use, there is no
Outdoor speaker
outdoor
use.
speakers.
Yeah, because
Um,
then the neighbors need input.
Determine the size of the.
And the
business.
size
the
limit,
size,
it has to be under, and I'm not a restaurateur,
Because
but
at
I mean,
the
I
end
think
of the day, too,
no larger
the
than
businesses-
250 or 200. I mean, you don't want a big place.
No, the smaller business are the one who benefit the most from this and should,
Absolutely,
because the
small, yeah.
process, when it's long, it's harder on the small businesses trying
Right.
to open up, right? to
Let's
carry.
target a small restaurant.
Could we also
150
add-
seats or less.
Was something like this already done for the 41st Street corridor? I'm just curious why they selected, again, it seems like all the main thoroughfares except for 41st,
Yeah.
which is also plagued by vacancy issues.
Yeah, to my knowledge, there's no existing regulations that streamline 41st Street to be able
So
to
if I
do
wanted to make a
this.
motion, I could add that as part of the
That
scope?
could be a part of your recommendation.
You could add it, yeah.
Okay.
Something else to consider, traffic, perhaps a maximum number of expected, the expected number of increase in trips. In other words, if it's going to cause 50 more trips. I know we're getting
Yeah,
very
now we're getting
specific,
granular.
but I mean,
But to
where
your,
do
to your, to your point, though, maybe what we could do is that, and I don't know if this really messes everything up from the city, but we could say favorable recommendation, maybe after a year, they have to come up with a progress report, and if there are any adverse impacts, I don't know.
One thing I would just advise the board is there's a major difference between a permitted use, even a permitted use subject to strict conditions like what this proposes, and a conditional use that is required required to hold a public hearing and come before the board, and the board can impose conditions. So I think if I could guide the board, I would say hew closer to the kinds of things that could be enforced administratively in your recommendations.
So, meaning that's the music, the outdoor use, things like that.
Size.
Right, those kinds of measurable.
So that's what I'm saying is, we're not in a position today to
To
say numbers of people per, square foot or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess if the board has the appetite to explore a way of passing this version of this, then we need the guidance of staff of what are some of the things that we would need to do, like limiting the hours, and what are those in the different areas, because we don't know off the top of our head. And same thing with the occupancy, number of chairs in the restaurants, how is that, you guys know best how that's calculated. But again, it seems like a lot of work, so if the board doesn't want to do this, then there's no, I don't know.
And the city manager's on board with this? Just curious. So,
The administration is recommending approval of this.
And when we talk about streamlining, like, what's the difference for a business who's gonna be bypassing the board? Like, what are we talking about time-wise?
Well, the CUP process for an NIE is, I tell people it's at least 4 months, right? So it does help, someone who's moving into a new building on Washington Avenue or Lincoln Road. They would be going through a building permit and, certificate of use process, which is, part of the normal process. I think what happens when an applicant comes to us and they require a CUP is they start with that process. So it front loads about 4 months on to their timeline. So, it's really, and I understand this is the board that reviews them, and it's, I completely understand you guys do an incredible job, and I know the residents of this community really depend on you. This was crafted to be very limited, to jumpstart economic activity in these very critical corridors. I think, I've heard some really great suggestions about noticing to neighbors. There are some administrative processes that we carry out as the planning department that we do notice the neighbors. I think that is interesting. I think maybe looking at the proximity of these particular, each case by case proximity to a residential building. There may be some that have no residential buildings within 500 feet of them. Then maybe, but there may be someone who's, just across the alley is a residential building. So maybe those are treated differently. But I do think, there is some opportunity to maybe create more safeguards in the existing ordinance while still trying to achieve, the same goal of really jumpstarting these types of businesses.
What's that? Go ahead.
Try. So I'd like to make a motion to approve with a favorable recommendation, provided that the commission includes no rooftop use, no outdoor music, no outdoor use.
No
and-
outdoor use.
No outdoor use, and also that there be resident notification if and when an applicant is approved. And also that the 41st Street
Wait, when
corridor
they're
is
approved?
No,
or
not when they're
apply?
approved.
When they're
When they're
applying,
applying.
sorry.
Are you saying outdoor rooftop or outdoor seating at all? Because,
Outdoor.
But then here's the question, though, if the
Both.
public's notified, what is that gonna do?
so what I was gonna add to that is you could do something like public notice, notice shall be given to the nearby neighborhood or whatever. And within, the 30-day period, if a resident objects to the administrative process, then, well, there needs to be some, right, what happens when they
Yeah,
get the
what
notice?
happens?
What are their options? If they object, then they can kick it to I hate to give one resident like the ability to,
Well, why can't they just why couldn't the residents send you emails and just participate in the
Can't it-
process?
A resident can always do that, right? So this would, a resident can always do that. So if notice
If they're
were
noticed,
If they're
would they be
noticed.
noticed under this procedure?
the board is considering amending the
Right.
ordinance
To
to
provide.
require notice. So yeah,
Correct.
And it would function very similarly to the understory process, where the understory homes are now approved administratively.
that's correct.
And there's, some type of notice to the nearby residents, and they can at least meet with the city to see what's going on, how it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
So I
yes.
would vote for including that type of notification upon application.
What about hours of operation?
I mean, I think
Well,
that's
kinda-
mandated by
I mean,
code.
Yeah,
Yeah,
What's that?
That's standardized
I
by
mean, we gotta
code.
rely on you all to
No.
some extent.
I also, I have concerns about the Lincoln Road between Collins and Alton. I mean, that's a big stretch of big spaces, and every time we have one of those applications, there's neighbors that are present, and there's things we change from staff's recommendation. I frankly, I'm not as familiar with the, and Washington Avenue, I have between Fifth and Lincoln Road, but I'm not as familiar with the Collins Avenue and the 71st Street area, but I just know how many applications we see from Lincoln Road as they're, I don't know.
I just say that at this point, I mean, I like some of the ideas. I could see myself voting for this, but I'd like to hash out a little bit more. Maybe staff can come back with some of these, spell out some of these, or put some of these ideas in writing so we can kind of see them all together. One thing that I would say the only way I'd vote for it is if that idea that if the city manager does revoke one of these approvals, that they cannot reapply for a year. Without that, I wouldn't vote for it. Let's I leave it to staff to come back with a little bit more,
So you want to continue it for a
I
month?
would vote to continue it.
I mean, is there any urgency to this one?
Not that I'm aware of.
Any problem
Yeah.
with?
It's not coming to first reading.
Yeah, because I don't, yeah, the first reading wouldn't occur till December at the earliest.
Any problem with us moving to November and you guys coming? But I mean, you hear the concerns and maybe there's some guardrails that could be contemplated by staff and. to
I
tweak
have
it a
no
little bit.
problem with that at all. I
Yeah.
think it's a good
Alright.
idea.
Rooftops,
All right, Scott,
outside,
move it.
sizing maximums, that kind of stuff. Take a look at those parameters.
So I'd move to continue it to November.
I second.
Okay, all in
Third, fourth,
favor
and
of that?
fifth.
Anyone opposed? Okay, move that to November. November 4th, and we're adjourned. And again, Debbie, Jake, great to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you
And
for
Nick,
your
you, of course,
patience.
always.
No, it was a little.
Where's